Alrighty, hey there folks. So, 4.1 is now available from your storefront page. Are you all ready to take a look at what's been added? There's some mystery there, some interesting things that have been added, a lot of fun stuff to take a look at. Are you ready? Alrighty, so, let's start off with new weapons, then we'll move to new characters, and then we'll talk about the things that might be quite interesting. At least one of them will be. The other one's just kind of fun. Alright, so, let's start off with Leif. Now, Leif, I'm just gonna say it, Lightbrand is a very interesting weapon, but it is one that is kind of odd to use. I will just say that as it is. But, well, they don't really change that effect when you refine it. It still keeps the base effect. However, when you do refine it, it also gains some additional effects that could actually be pretty beneficial in the long run. The first one, of course, is that it gets a slaying effect, meaning that it has more chances of triggering specials because you have less to gain. So, well, it really does help him out there, at least. Definitely a lot better than the Woe Dao I gave him, which is what I had been using previously. Then, of course, at the start of combat, if foe happens to, well, be at full health, yeah, it's going to give him an additional +4 speed and defense. Not bad, not bad. Not exactly the most intense sword weapon out there, but, I mean, you know, when you compare it to the ones that are being added right now, it's kind of a walk in the park, but still, decent enough. Gets Lightbrand a bit more up there, might actually use it over Woe Dao. I'm not too certain, at least. I really need to get at least it going. I might just upgrade it into attack, who knows. Because, as you can see, this boy is quite speedy as it is. Now, let's move on to the characters that are already in the 3 and 4 star pool, and are getting new weapons as well. And the first one, of course, is Dead-Eyed Rebecca, who's somehow wielding a bow without a string. Can someone explain that one to me? Either way. So, Rebecca's bow is a slaying bow. Yay! Excitement, right? Nothing too crazy there. Additional might, additional, cooldown charge, reduction, fun stuff. But the fun thing that happens here is that when you refine it, and of course you give her a buff, as an invisible buff from rallies and things like that, she will also gain +4 to every stat during combat, which actually could be quite beneficial for her if you're stacking up buffs. I mean, run her in a tactics team, an odd or even team like that, and you might see some pretty phenomenal numbers. I'm not really certain if that's really going to save her from where she is right now, just based on her stat lineup, but I guess they're giving her something she can work with, and at least a lot of you fans out there could make decent enough usage out of that. Not exactly the strongest one. This is just because of how the characters function, but hey, I will not say no to a new weapon that might do something crazy like that. Then, of course, we have Henry, and let me just say, when it comes to Henry, I'm really quite uncertain of what to think about this, but it's Corvus Tome. For those who don't know, it's just more crows. He loves them crows. Them crows, them crows. Now, the Corvus Tome, it is a weapon triangle advantage, weapon meaning Raven, of course. Well, not weapon triangle advantage, colorless advantage when it comes to the weapon triangle, all that fun stuff. So, Raven Tome, but also has additional might. Then when you refine it, it also gains the benefit of, well, as long as the unit that is attacking him actually has more attack than him, which is almost always, because of course, it will actually inflict, well, attack and res -6 on the foe during combat, as well as apply a guard-like effect, meaning that anyone who actually attacks him will not be able to, well, trigger his special. It's not bad. It's not amazing, but it is an excellent stalling tactic, which Henry was already kind of doing in anyways. I'm not sure if you guys remember the 4-star +10 Henry I made ages ago that could do that pretty well, but could be pretty beneficial. Again, since these characters are kind of in this little rut here, I really want to see what you guys can do that. I really love looking at builds that use this kind of thing, and, hey, I think you might be able to make a pretty fun stall-like weapon build out of this weapon for Henry. It's going to be a fun one to see, at least, but, not exactly setting the world on fire. I would say the best weapon, at least when it comes to offensive, would probably be Cordelia. Cordelia got a really fun, brave weapon that has two things that I think people need to pay attention to is, one, it has more might, and two, it has less takeaway when it comes to speed. -2 instead of -5, meaning that, well, Cordelia already kind of has quite a bit of speed, so if you run her with certain things like, you know, that new Swift Sparrow seal, some other things like this, she will be able to do a lot of it, because when you refine it, it will also be quite beneficial, because as long as she's over 70% health, it will grant attack and speed +4 during combat. Meaning that stacking up certain elements where she initiates could be quite nice, but I know a lot of you already run her with, say, a fire sweep weapon. It's really pick your poison at this point. I'm not too certain if this is going to bring back the whole brave build for her, because I for some reason I don't have my Cordelia anymore, but fire sweep was what I ran on her, so kind of a little bit odd there. Still, quite a potent weapon when you think about it. Now, let's move on to new characters, shall we? As always, thank you to Gamepress and Haruka for helping out with this. Check them out in the description below. Let us take a look-see and see what these new characters hold for us, shall we? So, Altina, Shannon, Ced, Larcy, all of them are going to be available for your next summoning pleasure. And I will just say, speed is definitely the name of the game for most of them, outside of Altina, of course. So, Altina, yeah, you know, let's start with Shannon real quick. Good enough attack, at least, has a super boon in that, because, of course, that we always have to have that. 36 speed, not bad. 37 defense is quite potent. Reminder that he does have a fantastic A skill slot to go along with both his, his speed and his defense, as well as, a decent enough HP pool. His res, however, avoid the Bane, otherwise you are going to be massacred by mages. Granted, chances are if you go up against a blue tome unit, he's gonna just explode anyways. Moving on to Altina, she is a fortress wall that flies. She also has 2 super boons, unlike the rest of them, in speed and defense. 39 defense, guys. That's pretty potent. 37 attack is not bad either. And of course, you need to remind yourself that she already has a lull effect on her weapon, and will get additional defense as well, so it's just gonna keep rolling with the punches. A super boon in speed is a bit odd, but hey, if you happen to get a super boon in defense though, that might be quite exciting, don't you think? Now, let's move on to Ced. Now, guys, I think you need to be reminded that, of course, he's all about being solo, and he already has 39 speed. His super boon, at least in this one, is HP. Okay? Not really touching much of the, stats that really require too much. The thing about this is that, of course, his speed is going to be absolutely outrageous with his A skill and his weapon, which are all about him being solo and doing more speed and more attack. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Alright. Gonna have a massive amount of that. Also, some fairly good attack at 35. Not really great defense, but he's a mage, so don't let him get hit. And then, of course, 31 res, wrapping it all up. Ced is not too terribly bad. He's pretty good at what he can do, very speedy, and will be able to probably outspeed most characters. Next up, let's talk about Larcy, who, I have to say, definitely got some of the big hef, at least when it came to the actual stat lineup, because she gets a super boon in speed, and she's already going to be speedy as hell, and considering the fact that she has access to Regnalastra already, this just really benefits her even more. And that's just going to be quite exciting to see, but also quite terrifying. Think, Ira, but since, daughter and all that fun stuff, definitely going to be a bit harder to deal with. 30 defense. That's quite a lot. Just avoid the Super Bane there, and maybe you'll be able to have her take a few hits without really having to subtract too much from her health. Maybe, just maybe. 36 attack, not exactly great, but, not exactly terrible. It's middle of the road, it's decent, it's good. But, everything else outside of that, I'm actually quite surprised she still manages to retain 25 resistance, which, wow. Alrighty. That is a lot going on there, but we also need to talk about that new free unit we're getting, and let me just tell you, it's quite a doozy. Oh god, is it. So, Travent is going to be coming out as your next GHB, and if you were expecting anything super insane for your first GHB of the new year, I'm just gonna tell you right now, there isn't much there, at least when it comes to his kit. He does have something that is quite rare, at least in his C skill, that of course is Flyer Guidance. that is an ability that has not really been moved into the easier-to-obtain realms until now, and will be available for him at least, well, when you get him to 5 stars, which, debatable, but everything outside of that, he got a Silver Lance Plus, Ignis, and Vantage, which, okay, I'll let that go. But the one thing that I will say about it is that his stat lineup is pretty good for what he has. 36 attack is not bad. 26 speed is not exactly amazing, but he will be able to at least make usage out of his amazing stat lineup, which has 40 base defense. Sure, okay. That's not weird at all. 18 res, of course, don't let him go near mages. All in all, not exactly the most exciting GHB when you would, come to this and think, oh, hey, this is going to be a good GHB. It's middle of the road, at least, and I know a lot of you were hoping that he would actually have his own weapon. Sad to say that that is not happening right now. Sorry, guys, it's just not. So, tell me what you think, at least in the comments below. I'm sure a lot of you will at least build him. He does have some good stat lineup, and I think a lot of you can make a really good build out of him if you do so deem to do so. Alright, now, let's talk about something else that we have to discuss. There are 2 things within the data that are very interesting. One is more fun, and the other one is just kind of interesting and might be a bit of a spoiler. So if you don't want to know what is coming, then I suggest you, this mostly has to do with the next Mythic Hero, then I suggest you look away now. But first up, let's talk about that new art, because, guys, the Summoner finally got his own art within the game. He's going to appear in the actual chapters, the storyline there. I'm not going to spoil it there, but it seems that he's going to be within the story and actually show up there. They finally gave him some actual art to go along with it. It only took them nearly 3 years. Yeah. For those who don't know, the art that people oftentimes use in videos is actually fan-made, so that just says a lot about the fandom around Fire Emblem Heroes. A lot of you guys went well beyond the Call of Duty and made something really amazing there. Now, the next bit, though, is where we're going to be talking about the next Mythic Hero, thanks to our friend Hertzdevil over on Reddit. So, over on Reddit, and while you might not be able to see it too well, at least with this data impact, there's a lot of data there, and it's not exactly really spelled out for you, but basically, this has to do with Leif, not the Leif there that you're seeing in that hall, but Leif as in the alternate Alphons. Well, as you can see, this was actually his data for the weapon that he has. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but they actually altered it recently, so what happens is that, instead of being enemy only, it has now been changed over, where it is actually going to be available for allies, or at least it seems to be according to the data. Meaning that most likely, Leif will be your next Mythic Hero coming out in the month of January. Huh. What do you guys think? Are you going to be using that? I'm pretty sure a lot of you have been waiting for Leif, so that is where a lot of this excitement is probably going to be coming from, and I want to know what you guys think. So, that's about it for me, though. 4.1, go download it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Apologies for any of the problems that we had previously. And as always, guys, I love you. Make sure to leave a like. And if you enjoy all this craziness that we have here, you can always subscribe as well. But for now, it's time to go.